Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for prize fighters, circus freaks, and gangsters. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Greta.
And as always, we are here to talk about the malcontents, menus, marriages, mistruths, and mercenary impulses of the 19th century. And we're talking Zorro again today. It is episode 9. We're almost done with season 1 of Zorro. This is exciting.
We are going to be so ready for season 2. But yes, the end of season 1, episode 9, unmasked. So much is going to go down in here. It's going to get us ready for the final episode. I feel like they're like, all right, we're gonna wrap some things up here.
Your telenovela bingo card is finally filled now. You have your secret baby locked in.
Yes, and the fact that it's like fake secret baby, even more delicious.
Oh yes. Well, it's kind of a quasi fake. We're not real clear on how much of this tale has any credence to it at all.
Right. I mean, because there's. Like, we know for sure that Samael is a terrible narrator. We don't know how undependable Lupe is, but she clearly has the feels for dead Alejandro. So something's up there. But
yeah.
But we start off the show with the Bear Clan and May and just disaster and hoods and what's going on here?
Yeah, Clan of the Cave Bear pulls up on Diego, and they tell him that he has 1 month to kill Monasterio, and then he's in the Clan of the Cave
That's
Bear.
right.
He can be cool.
Because we know you're one of us. One of us. One of us.
Yeah, and then you gotta do some weird thing where you hold a hard-boiled egg between your butt cheeks and race across the quad lawn or something, and then you get a bear pin and you're in.
So this...
You learn a secret handshake.
So this also makes me think, when I was saying at the end of last episode that, like, oh shit, they got married, then Monasterio is doomed. Like, you a danger, girl. And this is it gonna be, like, how's this gonna go down? But I do love the plot twist that, like, everybody is working so hard to somehow get Diego and Zorro in the same place. For rescue, for ransom, for death, doesn't matter. We're gonna try to get these two people in the room together.
Oh, absolutely. And and we cut right from that to the world's best dressed murderers. I mean,
the bad guys have the best clothes.
Oh my God. It's like he stole all of Daniel Day-Lewis's best outfits from Gangs of New York, had them dry cleaned and tailored perfectly, and then this Samael just put them on and made them look 10 times better.
Right? Because, like, the governor, who was a giant bastard, had the best clothes, and now this, like, traveling murderer has the best clothes. And come on, talk to me about Guadalupe Montero's leather jacket. What the hell, man?
Man, they just look so good, and she looks amazing. She's got that, like, streak in her hair, like
yeah,
not Storm. Who was that? The girl who could touch everybody in the X-Men and steal all their powers.
Rogue. Yeah.
Yes.
She's got the
Rogue
hair.
Has the gray streak in her hair like Rogue, looking like Mexican badass Rogue, and she's gorgeous, and, like, they're all too good looking too. So they're like, you know, if you see this gorgeous mom and son who are both creepy and weird, like, they got kind of a Sleepwalkers feel, that Stephen King movie that came out in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that's killing me about Samael's clothes is, like, they are so period correct, and he's got, like, that pattern mixing that's, like, somehow works, but that's a thing now. Like, people are trying so hard to put together patterns as well as they are. Just...
Oh yeah, patterns and fabrics. You gotta mix up those fabrics. You can't have the same weave on everything and the same knit, whatever. You know, you gotta mix them up.
That's right. And so, yeah, we get this whole backstory that, like, originally Alejandro, when he was, like, poor boy trying to make good, Lupe and Alejandro were supposed to get married, and Bernardo was, like, his shadow, and So I was like, wait, so the fact that Diego thinks that he has a dead mom, did like Lupe actually, she's his mom and she ran off? Like, I'm so ready to add like so many more pieces to this Jenga tower.
I mean, we're not real clear on whether or not she is actually Diego's mom or not, but she does seem to know Bernardo. She does seem to know Alejandro, and she has a lot of details on this story. But Samael is like, all right, lady, I like, you're telling me all this bullshit, whatever. That's the backstory, fine. If you want to spin it as real, whatever. But like, let's come on now.
So I definitely came to the conclusion that she was not Diego's mother, that Alejandro really did leave and marry some other chica.
Ah,
yeah,
gotcha.
That's where I.
But now she's
with.
trying to. But now she's like, he should have married me. Well,
right.
I'm going to get those riches. All right.
Hmm. So, well, because the thing is, I think Lupe was rich, and her dad's like, yeah, we don't want you marrying this poor boy. Get out of town with you.
Yeah.
So anyway, once again, we've got the working out with the whip, putting out candles with the whip. Every Zorro movie storyline person, like, apparently it's the law. You have to do this.
Well, if you're gonna swing from a chandelier with a whip, you gotta be practicing, right?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
There's got to be a Mythbusters where they tested that. I'm going to look it up and find out what's going on with this swinging from a chandelier with a whip.
We'll have to check the Mythbusters on that one for sure.
Yeah, the bad guy Russian in Red Dawn, the original 1984 Red Dawn, he was a champion bullwhip artist. So apparently he did that on TV, like putting out candles with whips and doing all kinds of special bullwhip tricks. So apparently there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it, but I'm skeptical.
Oh yeah,
about
no,
the chandelier
I've
swing.
even seen the like flick the cigarette out of somebody's mouth trick.
Whew, I would not want to be the person who had that happen to. No.
No. But I've seen it. Okay. So then we get Lolita. Like, things are dangerous. She's got the soldados with her. You know, she's not traveling alone. She's got her security guard. And the whole thing where, you know, Diego is like trying to pretend he's not Zorro. And she's like, yeah. No, you held me close. I know. Don't pretend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I smelled you, so it's over. That's the end.
It's like,
But he really tries to deny it, and then he's like, oh, fine, whatever.
fine.
And then he's like, all right, so I can't get into these parties, so can you help me find these bear weirdos? Because we need these bear weirdos. And she's like, bear weirdos, this pin thing? Sounds like bullshit, but I'll keep my eyes open because she's ready for a challenge. She's read Nancy Drew. She's in.
Well, and this is the thing, like, okay, we've ended the will they, want they, and it's like, okay, let's team up.
She did almost say she loved him. She did almost say she loved him. Because I don't remember exactly. He was like, well, how do you know? And she stepped real close and was almost like, because I love you. But she stopped herself.
Yeah.
Something like, well, you saved my life or something.
Yeah, so she's not willing to, like, not see him anymore. And so that's like, okay, we can team up and Nancy Drew around. Yeah.
Yep, leaving that door open.
And yeah, she's convinced that, all right, fine, my dad is one of these bear people.
I don't think she knows, does she? I think he doesn't tell her. He only, because he asked her.
Oh, no, Alejandro. Yeah, he says Alejandro. Diego says my dad was one. That Ramirez guy was another one. Yeah,
but he doesn't say her dad is. He's still trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah. By the way, that vest that she's wearing when they're talking, I would like that too.
Yeah. Her whole outfit's amazing. And she's such an amazing actor. Like, her looks of, like, indignation and, like, that, like, that Latin fury that, like, like
the way
flashes over her eyes. Like, I don't even know how you do that.
How she widens her eyes. Exactly. She just, like, the way, it's perfect. Yes. And so, we have the mystery of Tadeo. Like, there's this whole otter skin trade. I love that they, like, keep using that as a story thing because, honestly, it was, like, less than 100 years. And between the Russians and the Americans and the Chinese, they cleaned out the otter population of the West Coast, basically.
Oh, poor little river otters.
Oh, no, these are the sea otters, like the big floofy ones. Now, I mean...
Oh. Well, otters are, when I say poor little otters, they're evil little animals.
I was going to say, they are giant assholes. And so now I kind of
They're really disgusting.
I kind of wonder, is that because they had this population collapse and only the giant assholes survived?
Yeah, only the ones that like will have sex with a corpse for two weeks.
Yeah,
those are the only ones that lived. Kind of like the alligators and the crocodilians we have now, are like the special ed of the crocodilians that existed in the past.
Yeah.
Like these are the lowest performing crocodiles
because they could just sit there forever. So yeah, sometimes I wonder, if it was just the giant asshole otters that survived. Because everywhere else, like, this is the same period of time that the Americans and the British are just going out and killing everything that's kind of a seal anywhere in the goddamn world. North Pole, South Pole.
So you had the same thing with the otters. I think because the nice ones would have died first. They were like, you want to give me scratchies behind my little tiny ears? Yeah.
Right. They're like, I'm trying to help you. Yeah. And they're like,
except they don't even eat them, do they? They
you.
just skin them and then throw away the body.
Who knows? Anyway, so otters, evil otters. We get to see Na Lin. She's in her timeout. She's in her sweat lodge silence month-long
into the pit
timeout.
with her. Yeah, she's still in the pit.
And part of me was laughing. I'm like, do you know how much people are paying to do that? Except they want flush toilets, bunch of babies.
I had somebody message or leave a comment the other day about how we need to get back to hunting and fishing, and that's why kids are so fat. And I was like, it's not. It's 88% of Americans are fat, and I've been to Cabela's, and I don't feel like hunting and fishing are the solution to our fitness problem, because Cabela's does not seem to be the place where fit people are being accumulated.
No. I mean, nobody needs an automatic rifle to go hunting, but
also, there's not a lot of hunting gear being sold in size small or size medium. It's no, that's just not happening.
No, there is definitely something to be said that when you do not have to work your ass off to just make food happen, you do get heavier, but also not having a famine every 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
You could also just walk to the store, and it does it makes a hell of a difference. You buy less food, and you have to spend some calories to get it. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, making cities walkable, I think, is a big thing. And smaller refrigerators.
Yes.
Little smaller.
Yeah. And
smaller
eating less food. People say calories in, calories out isn't a thing, but here I sit before you, and it is. It is. I'm 170 pounds now, and I've literally never felt better in my adult life. Never in my life.
Yeah.
I can touch every part of my body with my hands, touch my toes, I can jump, I can throw things, I can use both hands to do stuff. It's wild. I'm a real boy now.
I mean, the calories in, calories out, why it's destructive is like bodies don't use calories the way you think they necessarily would all the time. That is one thing. And women's bodies are way weirder about it than dudes' bodies.
Oh my God. It's the science is really not taking any time to figure them out either.
Women's bodies, who needs to really know that much about them?
It's just like you guys are all in some stage of progressive decline of your health, and it's like everybody's just like, they're just whining.
You're like dudes, just kind of broken all the time. Do we need to know why? No.
Yeah, no. And be quiet.
Yeah, and stop complaining. Anyway, there's gold in them thar hills. I am sure there is, god damn it. That mysterious mine has mysterious gold, and we're gonna find out about it. Damn it, says Diego.
Yes, and so we find out the Bear Clan killed Diego's dad because Diego's dad found gold on his property, didn't tell anybody where it was, and he was going to share that gold with the dirty, dirty, poor natives.
What?
Dirty, dirty poors. Yes, and that could not happen. So they murder-pated him, and now it's on.
Yeah. And Lolita's like, all right, this whole thing, I married into the ruling class, so I'm gonna ruling class it up a little bit. I'm gonna take advantage of my position, and yeah. And today I was like, yeah, I feel a little bit stupid for being anti-captain of the army since you're like now the governor's wife. Whereas Lucia's like, yeah, see, I told you, you should have just let her do what she wanted. See how it turned out. Yeah, like, sure, I was pro Diego, but I was very pro Lolita not hating me. I also liked that.
Well, we come to find out why she was more pro Diego.
It's true. Yes, there's more
yes,
to it.
It is true, but she did have some ulterior motives there. She's not a fan of Monasterio for a reason. We've come to find.
And I think my favorite thing is we sort of find out that Lolita was like wedding schmedding. I don't really care. Let's just get married. Where it was Lucia who is like, I am holding I'm not holding a wedding. I am holding a goddamn wedding reception, and you will get invitations, and you will hand them out to everyone, and it will be a big goddamn party that I can host. Damn it.
Yes, and you will sit down with me for 6 weeks afterwards and handwrite every thank you note. We will have mother-daughter time. God damn it! Yeah, she's ready. She's been waiting her whole life to have this wedding, and she will not be denied.
Right. And so, she's like, hand the invitation over to Carmen de la Madrid and her brother, Francisco, and invite them, young lady. She's like,
But she doesn't want to because the plan was she was going to go to each person's house so that she could scope out the husbands to see if the husbands were wearing their bear pins.
Yeah.
And as we come to find out, only focusing on half of a city's population often causes problems.
Yes.
And it will for the bear. For Diego. Diego missed a big clue.
Yes, he
throughout all
did. But Lolita's like, oh my God, the bear thingies are real. Look at that. Bear cufflinks on Francisco de la Madrid. Well, I guess I didn't have to go to everybody's house hither and yon across the countryside.
Yeah, this is going to be easier. This James Bond shit's easier than I thought.
Hey, okay, yeah. So let's have a party, man. And they're at the reception, and Lolita and Diego are doing the let's dance so we can talk in private thing, like you do at all the embassy balls.
Yes, every spy movie that involves a man and a woman spy definitely has the ballroom dance surreptitious conversation.
And so Lolita's like, I found one. And Diego's like, me too. And there was kind of like the way they were phrasing it, I was like, are they leaving open that there might be women in the club? Like the phrasing was sort of interesting there.
Yeah, well, I am just dying to talk about food in this era because we have really had very little food. And I was very irritated by the lack of food in the scene. And we're going to talk about food, goddammit, because I want to know what the hell they were eating. Do you have any ideas? What would they have been eating at this thing? At a wedding reception. And we're in 1834 right now, right? Or no, 1834.
Yeah, and so the one thing that they were definitely carrying around was like that whole cheese and quince paste, or cheese and some sort of fruit paste, cheese and jam.
Okay.
Like, you see that all over Spain now. They've got, like, the manchego cheese, and then you've got the sweetened quince paste. I don't know if they necessarily would have been using quinces all the way out in California, but there's plenty of other stuff that they could have made into some sort of, like, really thick jam.
Okay, and you would just eat it on a cracker or something?
No, you just eat the cheese with the jam on it.
Oh, okay.
You might have bread or crackers with it, but it was also really common just to eat the cheese and jam.
Oh, well, I'll be damned. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I did a little looking because I was curious because I was like, all right, well, let's see what's on the menu, and then I was like, oh well, shit, menus didn't even hit America for 4 more years, or no, 10 more years. The first restaurant with a menu was Delmonico's, which was the first fine dining restaurant in America, and there were only 2 in 1844 that had menus. So then I was like, well, what the hell's happened? All right, so they're eating a la Russe. I found out, which meant that they were being served courses where they don't get to choose. And then I realized a la carte, the carte refers to the card that the menu is on, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So now you tell us.
So before service à la Russe, there was service à la Française. And so that was in the French style. And that's where you would just like load up the table with like all of the food basically, and so the kitchen staff would sort of like bring all of the food, and that was the whole thing with like arranging your table like full of food, and you'd have like corner dishes and a center dish and side dishes, and then you would pass these foods around, or you would pass plates to people, and then they would serve on the plate and then pass the plate around, and then it would get back to the person. And then at the end of the meal, all of the food would be taken away, and then you'd have kind of your end course. And so in the dining scenes we see and hear where they're just sitting at an empty table and kind of just like sipping sherry and maybe eating some fruit at the end, that was sort of how you would like end your meal after all the food had been taken away.
Gotcha. Oh, wait, so the French thing would make no sense in Russia because it's so damn cold. And so by the time you get to the end of your food, like it's just half frozen or what?
No. So à la Française was, it was sort of like the servants bring the food in and then they leave. Whereas service à la Russe was like the Russians had so many fucking servants that they would have like a footman behind every chair. And so the whole thing is you have hot and cold running servants. Like they bring in one course and then they take it out and they bring in another course and take it out.
Okay.
So it was like showing off, I have 10 times as many servants as you. And and so the Russians were doing that to show up like the rest of Europe. Like, oh, you think we're a bunch of barbarians. Well, we speak French now and we have more servants than you, and check out all our gold lace. So neener. And then everybody's like, oh shit, they're making us look poor. We got to get more servants and do this ridiculous, like take, every course in and every course out separately.
All right. And so, wow, that's so, but the Americans were really big on saying that it was a democratic way of eating to eat à la Russe because you're just eating whatever you're being served, even though I guess it's being served by servants, which is strange.
Well, I think à la Française was much more democratic.
Okay.
Yeah, whereas à la Russe, that was like most people didn't do that. You had to be pretty freaking rich to do it. And it was like the railroad barons started doing that like later. That happens later.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So they would have been, like, they had empanadas at this point, because I know the empanada dates to...
Yeah. No, they totally
1500s
would have had
like
empanadas at parties at this point, for sure. Like, the hand
and
pie's
they had
universal.
tacos from the... Tacos were a thing, so we're doing... Because the silver mine started having tacos in the 18th century.
Though I don't know if they would have had that at a high-classy party. You would have gotten your pinkies dirty.
Oh, okay, because that's low-class food.
Yeah.
I know macaroni and cheese was, like, the most popular dish, basically, in America at this time. Like, various different types of it.
Yeah. Again, it was...
So, would that have maybe been served, do you think?
At a reception like this where you're standing up, no, it would have been all, like, finger foods. Macaroni and cheese was, again, like a rich person's dish because you needed to have a bunch of dairy, and then you also needed to have noodles, which were a big, giant pain in the ass to make.
Well, that would have been a huge flex, though, for these people.
Yeah.
But they couldn't have eaten it because they need finger food.
Right.
But oyster patties, maybe? That was really popular. Would they have eaten those with their fingers?
I don't know if... Like, it depends sort of how far inland they were. And I don't think of oysters as a big, like, Spanish California food. They totally would have had, like, olives and things preserved in olive oil and peppers and stuff like that. Yeah.
I know paella was really popular, but there's no real way to eat paella
standing up,
as a
yeah.
finger food.
And
Yeah.
and at this point,
Empanadas are perfect,
Yeah.
but that's not a rich person's
oh
food,
no,
right?
empanadas would have definitely been something that you would have done at something like this. They would have just made them really tiny, and they would have made the filling really
okay.
complicated and highly spiced. So,
Okay.
yeah, so you sort of think like there's pie and there's pie. There's like poor person pie, there's rich person pie. And empanadas are just a
Gotcha.
hand pie. And so you could have made like this delicate pastry that you like individually fried and like stuffed with like delicately spiced shredded duck meat. You know, that totally would have gone over like a house of fire. Yeah.
Oh, it would have been like Spanish dim sum.
Right.
Oh, now I need a time machine.
And it's like the perfect kind of thing. Like the cooks could have made ahead and like
all right.
passed out with it. You know, you saw all the servants like carrying little silver trays of thingamamoos. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay, now I'm in. And so they're probably drinking wine since this is Napa
Oh,
Valley.
totally. Probably some sherry as well.
Okay, maybe some brandy or something like that.
Right. Well, brandy would have been for later. But yeah, some wine, some sherry, and then maybe sipping brandy later. Yeah.
It wouldn't have been tequila though, right?
You know, because what's his face? Tadeo does celebrate the arrival of the fancy gun with a fine tequila. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I think at that point they had, because tequila definitely started off as like the equivalent of rum. It was just the like worst ass.
Yeah, they were like, well,
drink.
fuck it. There's a cactus. It's made of plant. We can make anything into liquor. Use it.
Exactly. And so, but because the tequila, like originally there was like the pulque beer that the natives were just taking the inside of the agave and like pounding it and chewing it and making it into a beer. And then it was the Spaniards who distilled it into tequila.
Oh, they used the same method they used for corn with the
Right.
masticating the corn to.
Right.
So they use the same thing with agave.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. So, to anybody who doesn't know this, the really it's kind of gross, but the Native American way to make beer and wine is to chew up the vegetation and the natural enzymes in your saliva when you spit the stuff into a jar
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, that's what causes the fermentation process.
Right,
And
yeah.
there's a modern beer company that actually released beer made that way. It's sterilized because of the heating process and everything.
Right.
But yeah, and apparently it tastes good if you like beer.
Yeah, because the thing is that your corn and agave are both a very starchy thing, and so you need the enzyme to break the starch down into the sugar, and then the sugar can ferment with the yeast from the air in the normal way.
Ah, fancy.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing with why beer, you have to malt the grains, you have to sprout the grains, because the enzymes in the grain turns the starchiness in the grain into sugar that then can ferment and be made into beer or bourbon.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Interesting. Oh, and one last thing that I learned that I found fascinating over the weekend is women and men did not dine together at this time.
It depends.
Okay. There was, well, at least in restaurants, like
So-
there was something called a women's ordinary that was invented in 1839. That was a room specifically for unaccompanied women to dine in. But yeah,
Unaccompanied women, yeah.
Well, at least from what I read, like even when they were accompanied, sometimes they didn't eat in the same room. Women and men ate in separate rooms.
Right. So yeah, there's the whole thing, like basically, I mean, people forget this entirely. It's that basically women walking around unaccompanied, they could only do that if they were like of a certain lower working class. If you had any status at all as a female person, like you just couldn't go out on your own basically. And if you were like a servant or a working class person, you didn't have the money to eat in a restaurant
Okay.
or anything. So the only people just wandering around and going, I'm hungry, I'll go into this tavern and get some food to eat, were men. Occasionally, you know, you'd
Women
be
could purchase
traveling.
street food then and things like that.
Yeah, again, like the working class people would do that. If you had any status at all, you wouldn't be seen dead doing that. But like, let's say you're traveling in a stagecoach and you're a female person accompanied or otherwise, either by a male person or you'd have a companion with you. And the stagecoach would like stop at the tavern and the men could just like go in and eat. But the women, if they did not have a male person with them, they would have to go into the ladies' dining room. There is this whole thing like, oh, we don't want to have like women around us when we're like being drunk in taverns or something.
All right.
Yeah. So coming up with places where women could eat kind of out in public was this huge challenge. And so that's like the birth of tea rooms. This was finally a place women could go out and eat. Or there would be like the ladies' dining room. And so in a lot of places, if you had like your husband, father, cousin, son with you, he could come eat with you in the ladies' dining room, but you couldn't go eat and drink in like the regular part.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
My
so
sensibilities
it's kind of
I can't. It's too, chew with your mouth closed, please. Okay. I can't deal.
Wow. That's wild.
So.
All right. Well, that's, wow. All right.
Yeah, it's a lot. So.
Really restrictive. Just
yeah.
Seems like people just putting a lot of obstacles in their own way.
Sure, but you know that's what you have.
Well, not like the ladies were putting those obstacles in their way. It was just like people were erecting obstacles for no reason.
Yeah, well,
it seemed like.
You can't just have society crumbling around you.
Yeah, it's anarchy.
We can't. No. Yeah. Anyway, so we're at the fiesta. We get the food. We get Diego and Monasterio facing off, and Monasterio's like, you know, things suck, but it's not the natives. I know everybody wants to make me kill them, but it's not them. It's Zorro. And Diego's just like, yeah, sort,
yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And then he's going around like secretly putting notes in everybody's pockets.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, so he's trying to set up a meeting between the members of the Bear Clan he's identified, which is basically Lolita's dad and this other guy.
The De La Madrid, Carmen, them.
Whatever. He's not going to be alive much longer, so it doesn't really matter what his name is.
Yeah, and I did love, you know, Lucia coming in and like, are you coming up? And he's like, yeah, just gonna smoke this other thing. And like, so the big old heavy ashtray, like, yeah, people would use those to burn things in. I kind of enjoyed the proper usage there.
Yeah, those big heavy crystal ashtrays, those like Waterford crystal Johns. Yeah, we had one in our house way back in the day. Those things were heavy as hell.
Yeah, you could do some damage with that. But to the caves! Let's go!
Yeah. I wonder how many glass coffee tables got broken just by drunk people dropping those Waterford crystal ashtrays on top of them.
Or the big metal ones? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God. So many glass coffee tables are the worst idea.
They're still around? I don't know. I don't have anything like that anymore.
So.
It's Zorro. Yeah, Zorro
sets them up.
versus Les Osas. And there's hey, bullets and mines often have things that disagree. I was like, tribute to the Hunt for Red October?
Is that what that was from?
That's what it felt like to me. There's this whole thing where Alec Baldwin's character is sort of climbing around the inside of a nuclear submarine, and the Russian cook is like, has a gun in there, and it's like the missile room or the engine room or something, and it's just like, be careful in there. I was like,
Yeah, there's always that in the airplane too. Like, don't shoot. We're all gonna die, and then they all start shooting anyway.
But you know, because it was a setup and it was time for it to go down, sword fight.
It's not a very long sword fight.
No, it's not. But it is long enough to see that, like, yes, they are working with like sabers and epées. None of these like tinky winky little foils. Like, no, these are real swords. These will mess you up. And there's some yelling, and Francisco, he's dead.
And we find out that it is not Lolita's father who showed up at this rendezvous as we had suspected. It is Francisco's sister.
Carmen! Yes!
Dun, dun, dun!
Yes, and just the whole thing, like, oh wow, these hoods are very handy. The you can be a woman in the secret society. All right. And again, this is like some pulp novel fabulousness where, Diego's like, what the hell's going on? You did this and you did that and you killed Alejandro. And Carmen's just like, de nada, you're welcome.
Yeah. I got your predecessor out of the way so you could take the role. You're welcome. You got your promotion because of me.
Yes. And then Zorro pulls a Princess Bride to the pain where he's not going to kill her, but she's marked. And she runs off, literally screaming into the night.
Yeah. It was amazing.
May you be an example with your ruined face. Ha 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 ha. So after all of that midnight drama and death and destruction and marking, we're back with Guadalupe Montero. And she's going to tell you some more. And it's like, I pulled it all together. I went on with my life. And then mi madre, she died. And Alejandro, that bastard, he showed up to the funeral and just threw my life into a mess.
Oh, you did that in your best brave and the bold voice. I'm so proud of you. That was so well done.
I'm enjoying this nonsense so much. He offered me marriage again, and I just love Samuel's like, so?
And then he shoots the lawyer, which didn't make any sense. He was like, well, we didn't need that guy anyway. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he was legitimizing every single thing you guys were doing legally. You probably needed him. Lawyers are usually useful for evil empires.
I have my birth certificate.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Yeah. She's like, well, because of the gold and Vanderveen and New England and wheat and we're gonna have a railroad across and so much money. And Sam's like, well, we know the plan, so he could link us to this. So boom, yep. I know all the high points.
Yeah, evil snake person, bang. We're done.
Wait, no shit. I still need you to introduce me. So, not going to kill you right this second.
But we are going to need a new notary public. So.
That's right. Anyway, let's get going, mama. And just the fact that they leave the lawyer just lying there on the ground.
Oh, he doesn't call her mama. No. He makes it way creepier. Well, at least in the English translation, he calls her mommy, and it's creepy. It's way creepier with a Y at the end of that than it is with an A.
Okay, because I'm watching it in Spanish with the subtitles, and it's mama.
No, it's mommy in English. So
okay,
yeah.
All right.
The creep factor is high.
But the way he says it, it's not just like mama. It's like, mama. But the fact that they just leave the guy just lying there next to the campfire, it's like, yep, this land's a big land. Nobody's going to come along. And besides, his shirt isn't my style anyway. They'll just leave that on him. Yeah.
You know what we haven't had once in this entire show is that strange Mexican laugh thing that happens with mariachi music. That
what?
kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Was that not period? Did that not happen in this period? What is that called?
No idea. I mean, it sounds like a musical flourish, but the whole mariachi.
It has a name. It's supposed to be like some kind of war cry type thing. I have I have a friend on the block who's Puerto Rican, and he explained it, and I don't recall the explanation. It was from a couple of years ago, but I've been surprised consistently that we did not have any.
Well, but you think about it, like we're dealing with like really high class society, and so like mariachi is like music of the people, and all of the music that showed up has been like string quartets and like these very like orchestras and very high class things. So the whole mariachi like thing is not going to be present in these people's lives. And I don't know exactly when mariachi developed, but like the Martinez and the Ramirez and the De La Madrid, like they're not going to have mariachi around.
Okay. Yeah. Huh. Well, so the charro is the name of the jacket that the mariachis wear. And going back to food, this past week I had the single greatest culinary invention that was not singularly made of meat that I've ever had, called charro beans. Have you ever
Aren't they
had?
delicious?
Oh my God! I could fill books with my love of this stuff. Can you please tell us, how do you make beans so damn silky? They're like pinto beans with bacon. It genuinely might be the greatest food ever invented.
Well, first of all, so when we were talking about cowboys a couple of episodes ago, you were talking about there's like the chowder culture, and then there's the gaucho culture, and then everything. So chowder beans just means like cowboy beans. But yeah, part of the secret is that you have a very meaty broth with them. And like the mouthfeel of all of the gelatin, the collagen in there is part of what's going on there.
Oh, so you're using a lot of pork bones and stuff to make that. Oh, all right. Yeah, guys, when you're making any kind of soup or anything, save up all your meat bones and stuff, put them in the freezer, and you can boil them down and make a really like nutritious, flavorful broth that you can then use as a base.
Yeah,
for all
I mean,
your soups.
they do the whole thing where like, oh, bone broth is like this new wonderful thing, and it's like, no, it's the way people used to make broth, and then we got impatient. Now, I had this great Korean soup. It was like it was a neck bone soup with potatoes over the weekend. Yeah. Ooh. It was super tasty.
Super savory. So we were both having our bone broth deliciousness.
Yeah, so chowder beans, you can't make them fast. You can make them faster in a pressure cooker, but yeah, they need to cook for a good long while.
So when you say good long while, because I'm an impatient man, are we talking of like a full day? You're just like leaving them on simmer kind of deal?
Yeah, or if you've got like a pressure cooker of some sort, it'll take a couple of hours. But yeah.
Okay. Could you do like a hunter stew type thing for that, and just like a perpetual stew, kind of keep it going with the beans, and then you just save the broth that's left over? You start your broth with that using the next day, kind of thing, or
possibly. I mean, the starch that comes out of the beans also contributes to it. So, yeah, I'm not real sure. I confess I have not made much in the way of continuous stew. That's something that I would have to research. And so, just like railroads, I'm not going to comment because I'm going to say the wrong thing.
All right. Oh, well, there's a stew in Thailand that's been going 45 years.
Okay.
So, like in a restaurant. So, yeah, I'm like I'm like, well, maybe I haven't gone far enough with my forever stew.
Yeah, and I know that there are moles that sort of continue that way too.
All right, yeah, you got to build those rich flavors.
Yeah, right, but you got to know more about it than I do. That is for damn sure.
Yeah, so you don't end up with rancid flavors.
Right, you're like, oh, those don't go together. Yeah, there's a lot of skill there. People talk about like, oh, they're making the most of like what little they have. I'm like, no. There's some goddamn skill in there. They're figuring it out.
That's generations of making the most of the least. So.
Yes. All right. So we've got our Spanish Mexican food, and now we are looking at Diego looking at his dad's closet, and he's talking about Spanish Mexican fashions, and he's like, yeah, the clothing needs of a guy. This is not something that gets a lot of airplay. And he's saying, yeah, like as a dude, you need a couple of suits for work. You need a suit for special occasions. And he's like, but you also need your funeral suit.
Yep. They're still giving the exact same advice, because he says his dad said you needed 3 suits, and then he adds like you also need the death suit so you can wear it to funerals. But I mean, Steve Harvey gives that exact same advice. He says, get yourself 4 suits, a black one, a blue one, a gray one, and a brown one. And then you get yourself a number of colored shirts. And you like the color combinations that you can get out of that leaves you basically an endless array of options. You'll never repeat suits.
The only thing is like his whole advice about mixing and matching the tops and the bottoms, it doesn't look as good. But it
doesn't. But I mean, it's at least an option, so you
That's
don't have
true.
to repeat a suit. And
That's
Steve
true.
Harvey hates repeating suits. So,
That's true.
I don't have that same problem. I don't think most men do. But yeah, he does. Most people don't have I can only wear a dress once kind of we're not built for that financially.
Yeah. But it is worth noting that all of these rich boys have like the made to measure shirts instead of like back in Warrior I was talking about those crossover shirts with the adjustable buttons that like, you know, if you're poor, you just get a shirt and then you just move the buttons around. Whereas Rich Boy Diego, his shirts were made for him and there is no adjustment.
Would you also outfit your like manservant or female like your closest servants in similarly fitted clothes so that they didn't end up looking, you know, disheveled or
Looking trashy? I think it would probably depend on the skill of your servant. I mean, as we've seen, Bernardo can do everything, including tailoring, so he's going to make himself look good.
Well, and Diego is perhaps the most democratic rich person of the 19th century. He's hugging his servants at every opportunity, like he's me. He's just like, "Hey, get in here, give me a hug. I love you.
Yeah,
doing a great job."
So he's gonna get them the nice fabric as well. But yeah, you would want your servants to like sort of look kind of up to standard for sure.
Do you think there were a lot of people back then hugging their servants, or was this maybe the only person on planet Earth who was hugging a servant at this time?
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to get into the other kind of hugging your servants that a lot of female servants were subjected to.
Yeah, no, we don't need to. We've already covered the abject horror that it was to be a female at this time, so we don't need to rehash that.
Yeah. So we go to the funeral. Unlike in the American Wild West where it's all like unfinished pine boards, the Spanish, they love them a pretty coffin. It's all varnished and shiny and yeah. But these are rich people, so none of this unfinished board bullshit. But the balls on Diego to go up to Carmen and be like, "So sorry about your brother that me, Zorro, killed."
Yeah, as he's staring at the Z he carved into her face that she's trying to cover up with her veil. Yeah, you're welcome for your face. I could have cut your eye out, but I figured I'd let you look at your shame with both eyes.
Yeah. So we have the funeral and Diego is like, "Hey, Padre, I feel like super bad, so here's some money." And, Fra Antonio's like, "Yeah, thanks for the money. Here, let me put it away in this cupboard that happens to have a picture of a bear."
Yeah, a priest with a bear on a leash. And he's like, "Jesus, this guy too? Fuck. Now I gotta kill a priest? Shit."
Yes.
So he goes and talks to the Native American priest, and he's like, "Yeah, so, it's a problem. I gotta kill this guy, but he's a priest." And the Native American guy's like, "Yeah, so he's a piece of shit and he's a priest. Shouldn't you be holding him to a higher standard rather than not killing him because he's a priest?" And he's like, "Oh, you know what? I never thought of that, but when you say it like that, yeah, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do."
I think he is worse. Okay. That's bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be worse.
Yeah. Oh, and while you're at it, if you need a little extra impetus, you could always just ask one of his altar boys what he thinks of him. And, yeah.
Whew, yeah. And so Diego, as Zorro goes back to visit Fra Antonio, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, I think I am mad about it. I'm going to get myself worked up. I am mad about this. Let's do some enumeration of the sins."
Yes, he
With
starts
a whip.
listing out the deadly sins, and he's like, "Yeah, Jesus drove drove the money lenders out of the temple with a whip." I didn't know he used a whip. Did you know that?
I didn't know it was a whip either. But sure.
I thought he maybe threw a guy over a table or something like that, but he's getting in there with a whip. I was imagining more of a Hulk Hogan type situation, like a Jesus Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Just body slamming people through the occasional table. I wasn't picturing him horse whipping people on the way out the door.
I confess my Bible is not well thumbed either, even for the exciting action-packed portions.
They didn't even have revelations in the Catholic Bible, so it wasn't like I could sit in church and read like the most metal chapter of the Bible. It was just all the crap nobody wanted to read, like Mark or whatever, Luke. There's no cool
Deuteronomy,
shit.
all the
no
rules.
Blood rain and severed heads talking to you and like bats eating your eyeballs. There was none of that. It sucked.
Yeah. But I love how, Fra Antonio is like, no, look, see, we had to do this because the Spanish left and the natives, hell, in a handbasket. They were going. We had to the rancheros, they had to get together and, stop them from, something.
Yeah, I don't know. I told my assistant to buy 1,000 bottles of lube, and I didn't mean at once, and it's a mess. But we're getting it figured out, and none of his.
So the ruling class had to come in ruling class because otherwise these guys were just gonna boo. I mean,
you can't let these dirty poors be poor without supervision.
Right.
You gotta supervise these people.
Sure. They had a fully functioning society for thousands of years before we got here, but. Look, what about me?
Yeah. Look at how little they clean themselves. We don't give them any water or any time to do it. But if they really wanted to be clean, they'd figure it out.
That's right. And we know nothing about them except if we just yell at them and whip them, we might get some gold out of it. Yes, silver. Some of that. Yeah.
And I thought he was going to murk the priest, but he was like, nope, I'm going to let somebody who wants to do it way more than me into the pit of despair with him. And he tosses the priest into the pit of despair with Nalin. It's amazing. What a great... And then she attacks him like a wild dog, as we knew. It's just amazing.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, you, I have something to say. So about mi hermano. Let me talk to you about my brother with my knife.
She's like, I might get out of this all right anyway. I get to not be Zorro anymore. I get to kill my enemies. All these things are working out. Taking a little 30-day retreat down in this pit. Had a little time to reflect, developed a little taste for the human flesh. It's all working out. Everything's working out.
It's going to be okay. Yeah, sitting in silence with a little bit of screaming bloody shame.
Yeah, she's a skinwalker now.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe this Skinwalker Ranch founded on this.
We're still like we know who was there when Diego's dad died. We know kind of like what's going on. The Kill Monasterio deadline's approaching. Like it's got to be Tadeo because it wasn't Ramirez. It wasn't De La Madrid. Who actually killed my father?
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tadeo.
Right. But
except it's not.
It is not. And what in May is like, you can't just assume that. Because remember, Zorro's not a vigilante. He's justice. And he's like, God.
But then it works out because it turns out it's not even Tadeo because dun, dun, dun. There's another 50% of the population that it could be Tadeo's wife. What? She's the evil mom who wants Monasterio dead so that Diego and Lolita can get married and traipse off into the sunset together.
Yes.
I bet you that's her motive, too. I guarantee you, in fact, that's her motive. Doesn't even care about the state anymore. Ooh. She's just pissed that her daughter married the wrong dude.
The wrong guy, yes. And we do have to point out that...
Because he's only an interim governor. He's not the governor. He's the acting governor.
Yep. Sometime in the next 6 to 27 months, the real governor is going to get there. You don't know with the mails. These messages take a really long time to get back and forth. But it's going to happen. But yeah. So Tadeo originally gets jumped by Zorro. And of course, what does he do? The least helpful thing you can do in a high stress situation, you bring out the Derringer. Like, that's just gonna get you killed.
Yeah, because that tiny little peanut of a bullet is just going to piss the man off. He might die 3 days later from an infection, but he will spend those 3 days torturing you to death for killing him.
Right, and so this is the third Derringer we have seen, and this is the first guy who gets out of bringing a Derringer to a fight alive. but he's not in good
No,
shape.
no. There's two types of pistols really in this show, and only one of them is getting the job done. Well, there have been three, because we also had a matchlock pistol earlier in the episode that misfired.
Right. Bringing out a Derringer in a stressful situation is literally like the drinking the orange juice after you've brushed your teeth of problem solving in all of these situations.
Unless you're Chow, in which case it just looks cool as shit. So, you get your pop-out Derringer, and that's it. If nothing else, it looks awesome.
It does look cool, but, it didn't make things better for him either. He got pretty fucked up, too. So that's,
You make a good point.
So Zorro's going after Tadeo, and as you'd say, Lucia shows up, and she is just, I stab you!
Yeah, she gets him good, like, low in the rib cage, and it was like an upward strike, so it looked like she stabbed him, like, right in the lung. Like, she got him good. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah. I was amazed that he got out of there. Like, honestly. Yeah. But, struggle. And what is that thing on that chain that she's been wearing this whole time that we haven't seen? It's not a cross, is it?
Nope. It is a bear.
El Oso! It's out. And there we go.
And Lolita's been looking hard at every dude in this show, at their cufflinks and at their necklaces and everything, to the point where the newspaper man's patting himself down to make sure he didn't have like a booger on him or whatever, because he was looking so like, weird at him. And she is going to be so mad, not that her mom is a bad guy, but that she missed that her mom was a bad guy right in front of her the whole time. Don't you think?
The whole time. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, Lolita's going to be, that flash of anger in her eyes is going to be more than a flash.
Oh, yeah. I mean, once again, Tornado the Wonder Horse brings home the dying patient to the Bernardo so he can sew him back up.
And luckily, Diego has one of the few people who knows antiseptic procedures on his staff.
Well, again, remember, these are Spaniards who have had different exposure than the English, so, yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So... Oh, he has a double good luck charm, because he has Arab medicine and Chinese medicine working together to save him, as opposed to just bumbling Western maniacs who are drunk and have a bag full of leeches.
Yes. And so some sort of gambit about Monasterio is born. Like, that man, he and Danger Girl, like, this is not going to be good for him. That's all I know.
Yes, it is. This is really shaping up to be a hell of a season finale.
I mean, so is this the end of the ep? No, it is not, because we have to get Guadalupe and Samael riding into town.
Diego's quote-unquote mom has entered the chat.
Yes. Or no, that's Samael's mom. It's not...
Oh, but this is all... She also said she was Diego's mom. Did she not?
No.
Yeah,
no,
she
no.
said... I thought she said Diego was her son and he was off in Spain and...
No. That was the whole thing, that, like, Diego's mom died. That's why Alejandro came back and proposed to her.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, they made it really clear that... Because I was confused. Like, at first I thought, are we going to claim that the reason Diego's mom, quote-unquote, died is that it was actually Lupe? But no, the whole thing where, like... Diego's mom died, and so Alejandro's like, well, my wife's dead, and, bored, lonely, dead, just Bernardo, Jesus Christ. And he's...
I thought she just went away, and because he was poor or whatever, and so the son was raised by another woman. So, yeah, I just...
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well.
But it was you had them riding into town. Sweet. Like... Dude, I'm going to need a new hat looking at Lupe wearing that thing. She looks so good in that hat. I mean, that is just an Instagram postcard of a last scene.
Oh, absolutely. It's a gorgeous scene.
So, what are they going to wrap up for the end of season 1? I don't know, but I have a feeling Monasterio will not make it out of this episode alive. That is where they are. That's the direction they're pointing us in.
Uh-oh. Monasterio isn't going to make it. He put him in the red jumper. He's going down in this episode.
Because, I mean, what? He's married to Lolita. The clan of the Cave Bears after him. And Zorro's the best swordsman in the territory. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Diego only has, 1 week left on his deadline. Although he's going to, I feel like he could chop up the clan of the cave bear pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. But, we'll see kind of what happens. So, yeah. Good episode. Fun episode. A little food. A lot of intrigue. Mayhem coming out their ears for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And the clothes. Damn.
They keep getting better.
Yes.
I need to hurry up and get rich so I can pay a tailor to outfit me like a 19th century gentleman.
There you go. So would you go for the super high Spanish collar or the slightly lower American collar?
I think I would go for the slightly lower American collar. I really like the high collar, and I really like a Mandarin collar. But again, I just don't have the complexion to pull it off. I would look like a total dickhead. I would look like that guy who's wearing his karate gi out in public or whatever. So,
well, I mean, it is the 21st century, so maybe we could figure out a modified high collar. You wouldn't have to go all the way. I mean, what's the point of 200 years if you can't remix the fashions? Damn it.
Hey, I'm with you. And I'm really not a fan of the spread collar that everybody's doing these days.
Oh,
I just never enjoyed this. Yeah, I've never liked it. So the 70s, John, that's kind of fun if you're, the really crazy one out to your shoulders.
The disco collar, yeah.
The one that all the sportscasters are wearing now. I'm just like, it's not for me. I'd rather wear one of those mobster collars where it covers up the knot of your tie.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. We have a heck of an episode coming up next time. But before we get there, where can people find you out there on the internets?
I post every day at Plague of Strength on Instagram, and it's always something awesome, muscular, and I have been going making myself nuts, trying to pick people from every different sport and country I possibly can so that people have the widest array of examples they could draw from for inspiration. And I'm really proud of myself because I have truly got a really diverse cast of amazing characters that I've written about.
Yeah, because there's so much more out there. You start from sort of the history of bodybuilding, but yeah, talk about a sport that has become global and has interesting global roots that we forget about.
Yeah, well, and it's not just bodybuilders who are muscular. So this week I'm going to post about Shohei Ohtani. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
He's the greatest baseball player to ever live. He's 6'5" and weighs 210 pounds. Everybody, he's got pages and pages and pages devoted to how beautiful he is. But he's the greatest baseball player who has ever lived. He has over 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the same year. But he's a fucking pitcher. He's a pitcher.
Insane.
He's a pitcher. Yeah. It's just the craziest thing you ever heard of.
Yeah, so this year he wasn't pitching so much, and I think that's how he was able to pull off the 50-50. Because, 20...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 2020 happens. 30-30 is pretty amazing. But, yeah, and he's not... Well, now he's done, but I think he got up to 54 or something. It was absurd.
Yeah, 54 and 58, I think.
Yeah.
He's like Reggie Jackson, but he's a fucking pitcher. It's just... How does that even happen? It's amazing. The guy is so talented.
It is incredible.
So where do we find you?
So I am at the History of American Food, and I am now into America Learns to Do Diets, and boy, are we bad at them right out the gate. We start terribly, and it only gets worse from there.
Oh, the history of diets is so wild and so filled with religion, which is not what I would have expected. But yeah, now I kind of understand why people treat diet like it's religion, because diet really comes out of a lot of religious movements.
Yes, it does, and the American version of going on diets is so wrapped up into dying should be optional, and this diet, if you do it perfectly, will stop you from doing that, and it will give you superpowers. That was right out the gate. We have never wavered from that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Jesus only ate a little bit of bread and a little bit of fish every day, and he was able to resurrect himself after 3 days. you eat a little cleaner, maybe you can cut it down to a day and a half.
Yeah. The one thing that the first diet, the vegetable diet, the vegetarian diet is missing is supplements. But round 2 of American diets, we have our first supplement-heavy diet.
Oh, yeah. So which one did you identify as the first supplement-heavy diet?
The yogurt diet.
I'm not even familiar with the yogurt diet. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's like the super longevity diet, and it's like the very end of the 19th century. When I get to that, I will go into it. But yeah, because yogurt wasn't like a thing really in America at the end of the 19th century, early 20th century, you had yogurt capsules. And so yes, the yogurt diet.
That explains why all those old-timey diet authors wrote so heavily about that book, Nourishing Traditions. Like, it just came up over and over and over again, and Nourishing Traditions is all about fermented foods. So, yeah, holy shit. It's so wild how all that stuff is tied together.
We decided we needed, like, the very second America kind of had enough food for a lot more people. We're like, well, not only are you eating the wrong foods, the foods you're eating them wrong too. So let me tell you how.
Chew them all until they're ash. And all food is poison unless it comes from Jesus God himself.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing about the vegetarian diet and Graham is he's just like, well, the Romans were big and strong because they ate like this really rough, tough, grainy bread until they stopped doing that. And then the Huns conquered them because now the Huns were eating the correct bread and the Romans were eating like pansy white bread.
That's ridiculous. That's the most insane thing I ever heard.
And yet...
The Huns. Bacon bread on horseback.
Yep.
Why not? Why wouldn't they?
But it's rough, tough warrior bread. Rah!
Yeah! Rah! Not that Earl of Sandwich bullshit.
Yeah.
Not sitting around a table eating roast beef sandwiches and playing cards. We're riding horses and conquering man.
Exactly. All right. Well, we will be back next week for the last episode of Zorro. And then from there, we'll have something in the middle. And then I think it'll be time for Sharp and the only time Sean Bean doesn't die.
Wee! Sean Bean! He's going to survive one movie.
All right. Well, talk to you next time.
Hey, that sounds perfect. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Have an awesome weekend.
You can always reach out to us by email at pcgpodcasters@gmail.com. And you can find more dope beats like this one from royalraven.com.